Guys, what's going on? I hope you guys are well. So guys, I'm pretty sure you saw Keith Thurman's reaction. He went up to Manny Pacquiao and told Manny Pacquiao to his face that I believe Spence is going to beat you. I favor Spence in the fight. And Keith Thurman seems to be edging towards a Spence win. Him thinking that, you know, these are big welterweights, that they're big welterweights, and Manny Pacquiao is coming up against big, strong welterweights, and he feels that these guys are going to get to him. Now, he also said that about himself, and he failed. Now, and I think he's got that in the back of his mind that Manny Pacquiao could surprise us again. But he does feel that he dropped the ball, and that's why this mega fight between Spence and Pacquiao is happening. Keith Thurman has called out the winner of this fight, and he wants to fight the winner. He believes that winner is going to be Errol Spence, and he says, let's fight. Let's fight. If he wins, come see me. You know, I think Keith Thurman's still, you know, angry that Errol Spence is overlooking him. Errol Spence is not giving him a look in, and Errol Spence has been so dismissive of Keith Thurman not wanting to fight him. And listen, I think Keith Thurman's to blame for that. I think Keith Thurman's to blame for that because there was an opportunity for Keith Thurman to fight Errol Spence, and he didn't. So I think Errol Spence is a kind of, you know, not happy about that. That there was an opportunity for Keith Thurman to fight Errol Spence, but he didn't. So Errol Spence is thinking now, why do I need to fight this guy? Right? Because, you know, when I was champion and he was champion, he had no desire to fight me. He was making all kinds of excuses. But now that he's got no belt and he's not in a position, he wants to all of a sudden fight me. Now, Keith Thurman made some points about, oh, well, you know, you would have got paid pittance at that point, and now, you know, look how much money you will get paid to fight me now, X, you know, blah, blah, blah. But I don't think it would have been pittance, because actually before you were a champion, he was a champion. Now you're not a champion, he's a champion. And actually a lot of people would think the fight's quite one-sided in Spence's favor. So I don't know if the fight's bigger now, because a lot of people think Keith Thurman's past his best. Keith Thurman, right, is living on the past. Let's be honest. We don't know where Keith Thurman's at. His last performance was 2 years ago in a loss, right? And the performance before that was against Josecito Lopez. And his Josecito Lopez even a top 10, and he was almost knocked out in that fight. So Keith Thurman is living on performances 4 or 5 years ago. And really, when you look at it, who was Keith Thurman really beat? He's only had a couple good wins. Danny Garcia, whose really best days were at 140. And Sean Porter, which again was a very close fight. So what has Keith Thurman really done? When you think about it, when you look at his career, I know Keith Thurman has beat Guerrero, but when you think about it, Collazo, and he was hurt in that fight against Collazo. And Collazo was coming off a bad loss against Amir Khan when he fought Keith Thurman. So really, when you look at Keith Thurman's career, I know he was a unified champion, but when you think about it, Keith Thurman hasn't really got a great resume. He hasn't done that much. I know he was a unified champion, but he hasn't got a great resume when you think about it. He hasn't got a stacked resume, that's for sure. He's got a couple good wins on there, but that's about it. Keith Thurman is now looking for the winner of the fight between Errol Spence and Manny Pacquiao, when really he could have fought Errol Spence a long time ago. He got the fight with Manny Pacquiao, and he says he dropped the ball. I personally think he's on his last legs, and that's why Pacquiao was able to beat him. And I think if he was to fight Pacquiao again, Pacquiao would beat him again. I actually think Sean Porter might beat Keith Thurman. I believe Danny Garcia may beat Keith Thurman, this version of Keith Thurman. Remember, the version of Keith Thurman 2 years ago against Manny Pacquiao wasn't great, and now he's 2 years even more inactive. Because he's not going to get in the ring anytime soon. He's not getting in August, and he fought Pacquiao in August 2 years ago. So we're in July now. Next month would be anniversary of 2 years, and he's not going to fight next month. So the chances are, by the time he gets back in the ring, it's going to be 2 years plus. It may be 2.5 years. So when is Keith Thurman going to get back in the ring? Right? Because I just don't see how he can go straight into a fight with the winner of that fight. I just don't see it. If it is Spence, you really think Keith Thurman could go into a fight with Errol Spence? You know, even though I don't think that Errol Spence is going to be that interested, do you really think that Keith Thurman can go into a fight with Errol Spence being 2 years inactive. Not a chance when Errol Spence fought in December and now he's fighting again in August. There's no way Keith Thurman, no way Keith Thurman can go in a fight with Errol Spence. Not after the poor preparation that he's had, the inactivity that he's had. Spence would gobble him up. So, personally, I think Keith Thurman, he needs to get himself back in the mix. He needs to get himself back in the mix by fighting. You know, why isn't he calling out Ugas? Ugas is a WBA super champion. Manny Pacquiao is not going to be reinstated. Why isn't Keith Thurman going after Ugas? Why isn't he looking for a fight with Ugas? That's a big fight for him. It's a world championship, right? Why isn't he calling out Terence Crawford? You know, these two are tied up. What's Keith Thurman going to do next? Look, he's not going to get the winner of this fight next. Very unlikely. Why isn't he fighting an Ugas? Why isn't he calling out Terence Crawford? If he believes in himself, believes in his skills, that's what he should be doing. Keith Thurman's career, you know, it was at one point very promising. It looked like he was going to, you know, become a huge star, pound for pound star, and his career just kind of fell away. You know, his career a little bit reminds me a little bit of Khan's career. And the reason why I say that is because they both have short-lived careers at the top. They both became unified champions. And after that, their careers although Khan did a lot more after becoming unified champion, and also Khan's career at the top was a lot longer than Thurman, and he's got a much better resume than Thurman. When you look at it on the overall, Thurman's got 2 good wins. I mean, when I say that, a lot of Khan's work came at 140, but I would say his work at 140 was a lot better than Keith Thurman's work at 147. Keith Thurman, for me, his best wins are Sean Porter and Danny Garcia. And both those fights, by the way, were very close. Like, Keith Thurman didn't dominate those fights. And I think this is the problem Keith Thurman has got, is that really, when you look at it, he hasn't really done that much. Yeah, he beat Garcia and Porter, but very close fights, and they're his most significant wins. So Keith Thurman still got a lot to prove, but yeah, I don't know what he's got left, and the inactivity can't be good either. So Keith Thurman needs to get a move on, because otherwise, like I said before, you know it, he's going to be completely washed up. If he's not already. What's to say Keith Thurman's not washed up right now? Like, when he comes back, he might be terrible. Who knows? He may be terrible. I just don't know. I don't know what Keith Thurman's got left. But we know Keith Thurman does a lot of talking, and he talks a good game, but we need to see him step in there with a Spence. Now, he is talking about the fight being... He wants to fight now, because obviously he's not in a great position, is he? He's got no belt. You know, his credibility now is not the same as what it was. So he needs a big fight and a win in a big fight to catapult him back to where he was. But I think it's going to be very difficult to do, because wherever he looks, there's sharks. Ugas, shark. Spence, shark. You know, Pacquiao already beat him. You know, Terence Crawford, shark. You know, wherever he looks now, if he fights Porter again, shark. If he fights Danny Garcia again, shark. He's in a very difficult place. Because no matter where he looks and no matter where he turns, he's in it with somebody that has a very good chance of beating this version of Keith Thurman. I think whoever fights Keith Thurman would be fancying their chances because of the vulnerability that we've seen in the Lopez fight, in the Pacquiao fight, and now the inactivity as well. That can't be good. A guy that's been that inactive, that can't be good. So I do think you know, Keith Thurman, when he steps in there with a top fighter at welterweight, I think he's going to struggle. I do. I'm not sure he's going to be able to cut it at the top. And listen, until he goes in there and proves us wrong, I think a lot of people think that. A lot of people think Thurman's past his best. Thurman's best days are behind him. So unless he comes and proves everybody that, no, he's still got something left, and in order to prove that, he needs to fight somebody and beat somebody. Because, like I said, even Keith Thurman in his prime, he hasn't got a great resume. It's not like you've got a guy that fought 6 or 7 world-class guys and beat them. This is a guy that's probably fought a couple world-class: Guerrero, Danny Garcia, Sean Porter. And really, what else is there on his resume when you think about it? You know, he beat Bundu. There's not a lot else. You know, Lopez, okay, he won that fight, but that was, again, not a great performance. You know, people were expecting him to go in there and dominate Lopez, but that didn't happen. And yeah, he's still got a lot of guys, to face. Like, you think someone, Spence, he's already lost to Pacquiao. He's got Crawford there. You know, you'd say those are the best guys in the division, and he's not really faced any of them. He fought Pacquiao and he lost. And I think most of us would favor Spence and Crawford over him anyway. So I think it's going to be difficult for Keith Thurman wherever he goes. I think it is the welterweight division is going to be very difficult for him. I can't see him becoming champion again. I look at Keith Thurman and I kind of look at, not completely similar, but a bit like the McGregors. I think that he's made a lot of money, and I'm not sure whether he has that same hunger. It's going to be very difficult for him to become world champion and get back to, especially with the guys out there. They're too good. Some of the guys out there are very, very good, and I just don't see him becoming world champion again. I think even some of the prospects would probably beat him, like, you know, Ennis, Ortiz. These could be hard fights for him. Keith Thurman, for me, is on the slide. He's not the fighter he was. So I think in terms of calling out the winner of Pacquiao and Spence, if Pacquiao wins, he's not going to be interested in fighting Keith Thurman. Errol Spence has already stated that he's not interested, which I think is a bit unfair. I think he should be interested in fighting Keith Thurman, because imagine if he was to fight Manny, beat Manny, and then beat Keith Thurman. Errol Spence would have cleaned up everybody at 147, apart from Terence Crawford, that is. So for me personally, I think it's a fight that should happen down the road. It should happen, and I think Keith Thurman wants it to happen now. But that's because of the situation he finds himself in. Would he be saying that if he was in a dominant position like Spence? I don't know. Because he'll probably be looking at it, why do I need to risk myself against this guy? But now Thurman hasn't got anything to risk because he's lost his undefeated record. He isn't a champion. And if Spence was to beat Pacquiao, Spence is a unified champion. So it gives him an opportunity to become a unified champion again. I don't think he'll win, and I don't think he beats Errol Spence. But again, it gives him an opportunity, right? So leave your thoughts, guys. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Would you like to see Keith Thurman against the winner against Pacquiao and Spence, or would you want to see a Crawford fight? Who would you like to see? Leave your thoughts. And guys, remember to please like, share, subscribe to my channel. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.